All right, so everyone, you're watching a special episode of Lit Sports Online Coronavirus Edition, where we're at remote locations talking to each other. It's Justin and Gerald here from the LitTube channel.
Yo.
How are things going, Gerald?
Social distancing it's interesting. This weird new norm we're all experiencing. With the lack of sports, thank God for the NFL because we got tons of sports news for you. But yeah, social distancing isn't too crazy. I mean, virtually I've just been working from home all day.
Yeah, fortunately, we got some sports news to go through, although it's a big question mark as to when all these seasons are going to start up again, particularly NBA, which got stopped midway. I mean, that kind of sucked.
Yeah, really. And we were preparing for March Madness. We were about ready to do our brackets and everything. I was getting real excited. And then all of a sudden, here this comes, and they canceled out. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
I was in a March Madness competition at the gym, and then I was getting ready to go to the Final Four, and the next thing you know, the thing gets canceled.
Damn.
Sucks.
Yeah, I mean it's been a crazy halting of life, but thankfully products like Zoom exist where we're allowed to keep LitTube going even if we are like about 40 minutes away from each other.
Yeah, it's true. So just so our audience, I mean, they probably know by the title of the video, but we are here to discuss the 2020 NFL trades that have happened so far in the offseason.
Yeah.
So we're recording this as of March 31st, so we're hoping to get that video out shortly after, but just so anyone knows if anything else happens, that's just when we're recording this. So we're going to start with some Ravens trades, because I know you're going to be excited to talk about that. We'll start with the Ravens trading tight end Hayden Hurst and a 2020 fourth-round pick to the Falcons for a 2020 second and fifth-round pick. Now, I will tell our audience that Hurst finished the 2019 season with 30 catches for 349 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it wasn't a spectacular, but it's not bad for a tight end, honestly, in today's NFL. So, I mean, my take on this, I was there all along saying that Mark Andrews would end up being the better tight end for the Ravens. Certainly in the receiving game, it turned out that way. But what's your take on this? Because I know that the Ravens drafted Hurst first, and then they got Andrews, and it's been quite a difference between the production of those two.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's take it all the way back to when Hayden Hurst was first drafted. And I remember when it happened, whatever channel we were watching the draft on had got his weight wrong. And I remember it said he was like 345 pounds on the television. And I remember we rushed to make the video, so I didn't get to see him when we made the video. Like, I just like, what the fuck? Like, this guy's like 300 and some pounds. They got his height off. Like, he's super short and stocky. So I'm imagining literally this big D lineman as a tight end. I'm like, what the hell are the Ravens thinking? Got home once the video was processed. I realized I looked like an idiot on the internet. And, of course, this guy is built like a prototypical tight end. You hear how he didn't drop any passes. Then you also hear that he's a little older. And that's when you start scratching your head a little bit. Mark Andrews excelled last season. I mean, literally, breakout season if anybody ever had one. And Hayden Hurst kind of didn't progress along with him exactly. But Hayden Hurst was still good for what he was. And when you also factor Nick Boyle, who is a little bit on the older side of tight ends, in my opinion, I thought they were going to try to do what the Patriots tried back in the 2000s with Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, which we all know how that worked out. But that's what I thought the Ravens were going for, so I loved it. But when that trade happened, I was confused. I'm like, why are we getting rid of him? And then I thought, he is older. It frees up cap space in the long run because you don't have to worry about paying him later. You're getting a second-round pick. That's pretty baller for, an older first-round pick. So I'm not mad at this. Eric DeCosta is a fucking genius.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a decent opportunity to sell him, and the opportunity was created. I know we're not going to get into the whole free agency thing on this video, but the Falcons got rid of Austin Hooper. He signed with the Browns. They had a void there. It's going to be interesting to see if Hurst becomes their every down tight end and see what he can do in that type of role if they give it to him.
I think he could be.
Moving on, we got another Ravens trade where you gave the 2020 fifth-round pick to the Jaguars for defensive end Calais Campbell. Now, Campbell is 33 years old, but we all know he's still an impact player. I mean, he's coming off of a season where he did quite well. And my thinking on this is that the Jaguars likely made this trade just to free up cap space. I guess they figured, we're going to release this guy if we don't trade him. Let's see if we can get something. But it is a nice addition for the Ravens.
I mean, shit, we'll take it. I mean, think about it. I mean, you have an all-pro lineman, and we got what? We traded a fifth-round pick for him? Holy shit, talk about a steal. Yeah, I'm happy with this, beyond happy. You franchise tagged Judon, so that obviously leads him up in the air. You don't know where he's going to go. The rookie you drafted a year or two back, he hasn't really panned out well. And we were one of the biggest things I remember from that playoff game, and one of the things that cost us the game was not being able to get in the backfield. So when you add an all-pro defensive end who is a massive human being, has great footwork. I mean, he has a long reach. Dude, we just made bank off of that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much more he has in the tank. I think certainly for this next season, he's going to be a big impact. And at the end of the day, I mean, a fifth-round pick ain't nothing to lose sleep over.
Nah.
So then that brings me to the last Ravens trade, which, I don't really have much to add on this, but the Ravens gave defensive end Chris Wormley to the and a 2021 seventh-round pick to the Steelers for a 2021 fifth-round pick. I mean, what do you make of the Wormley trade to a division rival?
You see that happen every now and then. Like, a guy from like the Browns will end up on the Ravens, or an old Ravens player will end up on the Steelers. It happens. I mean, just ask James Harrison. So at the end of the day, it's like, am I going to lose sleep over it? Not really. I mean, Wormley, he contributed. He was in rotation with the rush, but I mean, he wasn't anything of any like, oh my God, how could we let our enemy get him? Like nothing like that. So I'm not too hurt about that.
All right. And then, of course, we want to talk about this big blockbuster trade where the Texans traded wide receiver Deandre Hopkins and a 2020 pick to the Cardinals for David Johnson, a 2020 second and 2021 fourth-round pick. Now, many analysts have ripped this trade, and for good reason. It's quite lopsided. I will just point out there, if you go and try to do this on a Madden season, if you try to trade and get DeAndre Hopkins, it's not going to work.
No.
So, I mean, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, an all-world receiver, and Johnson, a running back that, while he's had some good years, he's been a shell of his former self. So, I mean, what do you make of this?
I want to know what he was smoking when he let that trade go. Like, come on, man. Like, just like it made no sense. It's like, are you just like shuttling off targets for Deshaun Watson? I mean, Deshaun Watson, one of the best up and coming, quarterbacks. He's gonna have nobody to throw to, and he had one of the best in Hopkins. Like, what are you thinking?
So, I mean, I tried to get into the head of Bill O'Brien and see why really would it make sense to do this deal. But I just got nothing, because it's like, it'd be one thing if DeAndre Hopkins was like, oh, I'm not signing or doing a contract extension unless you give me huge money, and they couldn't afford him. And if David Johnson was not hitting any cap space, but David Johnson is going to hit to the cap too. He was on a big deal with the Cardinals. So it doesn't really make sense even from a cap perspective to do this.
No, none of this makes sense unless there's something that we don't know about, with some drama. I don't know. Nothing makes sense in terms of that trade. But the Cardinals are looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I was about to say they've got a much better shot at winning the division now with this trade. Just this trade, yeah. That's huge.
Oh my God! The Cardinals are in a pretty good damn position. Sorry about that. Sorry about your luck, bro.
Yeah, go figure, right? And then the next trade, and this was a pretty interesting one too. You had the Buffalo Bills trading a 2020 first-round pick, fifth and sixth round picks, and a 2021 fourth-round pick to the Vikings for wide receiver Stefon Diggs and a 2020 seventh-round pick. What I think is going to be the most interesting about this trade going down is now we're going to really see what Josh Allen is really made of. I mean, he's going into his third season. He showed improvement in his second season, and now he's got a true number one wide receiver to work with in Stefon Diggs. Third year often being a breakout year for QBs. That's my big takeaway is like what are we going to see from Josh Allen because of this? But what do you think about the deal in general?
Stefon Diggs, honestly, as a Ravens fan, we wanted him. We were really excited when, he was looking for trades. Like, man, he'd be great to add to that receiving corps. Could you imagine him and Hollywood Brown just running down the field all day for Lamar Jackson? Oh, my God. So I was a little disappointed when that happened, and especially because Josh Allen, let me tell you something about the Bills. They're good. And without Brady in New England, the Bills are the new team. So you've just given Josh Allen one of the best receivers who was underutilized last year with a chip on his shoulder. AFC East, watch out.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills are certainly looking like a favorite in that division, mostly off of how great their defense is, but certainly the offense plays a part too, and then so will this trade. So that will be quite interesting to see what comes of that. And if Diggs can make an immediate impact. I mean, these Maryland wideouts, DJ Moore, Stefon Diggs, Maryland knows how to churn out the receivers. Man.
Hey, Maryland knows football.
So now we're going to get into some other trades. We've got the Redskins trading a 5th-round pick to the Panthers for quarterback Kyle Allen. And you may remember, Kyle Allen from last year stepping in for Cam Newton on the Panthers. Threw for 17 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, over 3,000 yards passing. He had, a respectable showing for someone who's pressed into duty, but, he's not looking like the next big thing or anything like that.
Yeah.
What's your take on this?
Yeah, it's making – the Redskins make moves and it leaves people scratching heads. Half the shit they do doesn't make sense. And you had Haskins where – you're bringing in Kyle Allen. Virtually you're saying we're going to hope these guys can just battle out and hopefully something comes out of it. I don't know. I just think it's a stupid trade, but it's the Redskins, and that is what they do is stupid shit, so here's what you get.
Well, I'm going to take a different view on this in that it was a 5th-round pick. They're getting a guy that's a solid backup at the very least, and he's a young quarterback, actually, Kyle Allen. He's only like 24 years old. I think what they really were trying to do with this is give someone in there that can push Dwayne Haskins to, be better. Knowing that he has competition from a young quarterback, light a fire on his ass. So from that perspective, I like the move, but I don't think it's anything that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, I think it's still Haskins' team if he can develop, of course. But so who knows? Again, it just was one of those really? Why? I don't know.
So then we got the Eagles trading a 2020 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick to the Lions for cornerback Darius Slay. And Darius Slay being an all-pro caliber corner, and with the Eagles secondary lacking and the fact they got rid of Malcolm Brown, it just made a lot of sense for the Eagles.
Total sense. Yeah, total sense. It's a no-brainer. You got to beef up that secondary, and if you don't, you're going to continue to get roasted.
Yeah, I definitely like this deal a lot better for the Eagles than the Lions, especially because of how great a fit it is to get that particular player.
Yeah, definitely. So, the Eagles are at least looking like they're trying to build up their team. We'll see what happens with the rest of their squad. But, yeah, they definitely added a key piece to a defense that was lacking.
Then the next trade we're going to discuss is the Broncos trading a 7th-round draft pick to the Titans for defensive tackle Gerald Casey. And, Gerald Casey's not necessarily a household name, but upon looking into him more, I think it's pretty good value for the 7th-round pick because we're talking about a player that over the course of 9 seasons has only missed 4 games, so he's very durable.
Wow.
And he's had the 2nd most sacks on the Titans last year. So I think for a 7th-round pick, that's great value.
Yeah, really. You got a guy that was leading his team in sacks and getting to the quarterback. Hell yeah. That's a pretty good deal for a 7th round.
Yep, indeed. And then the final trade we're going to talk about is the Bears trading a 4th-round pick to the Jaguars for quarterback Nick Foles. And this trade says 2 things to me. The Jaguars believe that Minshew was the man, And Trubisky is suspect.
And weren't you the one that loved Trubisky when he came out of college? You were all about him, man. You thought he was the next big thing. Now look at him, back in the bus and shit.
I don't know that I called him the next big thing, but
you said he was better than Deshaun Watson. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you may also recall that I touted Pat Mahomes in that draft. No one gives me credit for that one, though.
Oh, yeah, you got one right.
So anyways, well, I mean, what do you think about this, really?
I think it's a good fit. I mean, Gardner Minshew showed his ass off last season. I think if they build around him, the kid can continue to develop. I think Jacksonville has a quarterback for the long haul. And, again, I think Foles deserves to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. The kid won a Super Bowl. He led the Eagles against single-handedly one of the best teams in the NFL as a backup. So, yeah, he deserves to start in Chicago. They need to rebuild around Foles. Let's see what happens out there.
I mean, what do you think the odds are that they actually try out Trubisky in the beginning until he messes up and then puts in Foles?
I don't think there's a chance, man. Wait, did they – so – season's longer, obviously, and did they shorten preseason? I can't remember. Preseason still 4 games? I think so. Whatever. Huh?
As far as I know.
Yeah, as far as it's still 4 games, I believe. So, anyways, I don't think Trubisky will start the first preseason game. By the second preseason game, when they drop that depth chart, Trubisky will be like second, maybe even off on the trade block somewhere.
Yeah, see, I don't really know whether this trade means that they're anointing Foles as their starter out of the gate, or if this is a type deal, or what they're trying. Maybe they're just trying to light a fire under Trubisky's ass. You know what I mean?
That is possible. I mean, what better way than to bring a Super Bowl winning quarterback? What better way to ignite, that competition?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think between this and the Kyle Allen trade, you got some young quarterbacks that are getting pressured by the backup, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be real interesting.
That does it for all the 2020 trades up through March 31st. And we'll see if any other blockbuster deals go down between now and the draft. But my guess is that we've probably seen the brunt of it.
Yeah, I think so. Next up, what is it? Free agency we're going to talk about. Of course, we got the draft coming out, so we'll be covering that. Again, we have found a way to keep LitTube going in the age of social distancing. So we will be bringing you content quite often across the podcast, across YouTube. And hell, we may even get the website back up and running for you. But we are back. We're here to stay, Justin. It was great to be back on camera with you, brother. As for those tuning in, huh?
Oh, I was just going to say, to the audience, stay tuned for other videos coming out, because we're definitely going to talk about some of the draft prospects, maybe compare them to Mel Kiper's big board and see what we can come up with there. And then we also want to at some point discuss the free agent signings, but not quite yet.
Yeah. As always, thank you for tuning in, and take care.